Coming to you with another interview. And I'm really excited about this one because this young lady is basically a tax professional. And we had to check, well, we met on Instagram. No, I heard about her in Clubhouse. Then I reached out to her on Instagram. And then from there, we kind of just been going back and forth, keeping in touch. So this has been something in the making for a while now. Because I saw what she's been doing. I saw how professional she's been, how she's presenting herself to the community. So I thought it'd be a great fit for us to talk about. So I want to introduce everybody to Miss Courtney Matthews. How you doing today?
Hi, I'm good. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so obviously before we begin, we want to make sure everybody can get introduced to you as far as, you know, who you are, your background, and how you came into taxes. Could you share that with everybody real quick, please?
Okay, sure. So, like you said, my name is Courtney Matthews. I'm actually from Alabama. I've been in the tax industry for 13 years now. I know I don't look like it, but I started when I was 19, fresh out of high school. Kind of on a whim. I needed a job, and my mom was working for a tax company as a receptionist. So I actually started as a receptionist, and I already was going to college for accounting, so I knew I liked it, but I didn't know what area of accounting I liked until I started working at the tax company. And so I just took a liking to it. I got the manager to train me, and in the next season I started. I was probably one of the youngest ones there. I became the youngest manager. And it took me about 5 or 6 years to be a manager, but I was the youngest one because I just consistently convinced them to let me be a manager. Quickly found out that I wanted to do it on my own. I didn't like, when I was a manager, I got privy to the numbers. And so I could see how much the company was making versus how much they were paying us. And that's kind of what sparked me into like going into business on my own. My first business actually wasn't a tax company. It was a makeup studio, but I always did taxes on the side. It was always like a love for me. It was easy. I was good at it. I could explain it pretty well to my customers. So I always kept it on the side, you know? So it wasn't until maybe about almost 3 years ago that I actually started to entertain the idea of doing this full time. Okay. And so I did. I started my company actually. This is our 6th year with my company. Mm-hmm. But like I said, I always did it on the side. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. This year was a little different because I jumped full force into it. I quit my corporate job. That's a story for another day. I was only in corporate for a year. And I cut out for it. However, I ended up going back to corporate and jumped right back out. So now I'm back full-time entrepreneurship, running my firm. I have 6 tax agents underneath me. I have a tax course that we are relaunching this year. It's pretty good, but you know, I always want to do it bigger and better. That's right. And I'm just very passionate about teaching other entrepreneurs, really anybody who wants to learn about taxes, but I believe that everybody who owns their own business needs to know the basics. It's Absolutely. Too many entrepreneurs out here that are just completely clueless when it comes to taxes, and they just rather not deal with it because it's so hard for them to understand. And I love to pride myself on breaking it down to where you can understand at least the basics. You have to, I mean, it just is what it is. If you're going to run your business, you have to understand the basics of accounting, bookkeeping, and taxes, or else your business is not going to flourish. Right. That's what I love to do. And my firm, it's called MCOR Tax and Accounting, and we offer accounting, bookkeeping, payroll services, and business coaching and consulting. So you gave us a handful right there. So basically, you've been in taxes for over 6 years. You've been in business for 13 years, but you had your own business for 6 years. Yes.
And recently you quit corporate and you went full time with your business. Mm-hmm. So make sure I adjust my notes now. 13 years taxes total. And so 6 years your own business, first year full-time, where you just quit everything and said, we're going all in. And I don't know if you guys heard it, but she's an enterprising woman, because not only did she go all in, but she hired some people to work with her as well to help her get more things done. So she understands the power of leverage. So that's awesome. And then you also mentioned something that was very key. You launched a tax course. You love helping people break down taxes because it always seems like it's difficult. Now, I'm gonna just go ahead and wrap myself out. I'm guilty, because taxes was a foreign language that I was scared to look into. I just had to, because I had to learn how to pay my taxes.
You have to.
Yeah. So with that being said, so you're able to break taxes down. You're able to make them simple for people. You offer a course online. That's phenomenal. Let me ask you this: for the people who don't know, and it's just the basics. When you hear people say, because it sounds like you specialize with entrepreneurs, so when people talk about write-offs, what is a write-off? Right? Because some people are like, does that mean I don't have to pay no taxes, or do I, you know what I mean? Like, what is a write-off for people to know?
That's actually a good question. And I feel like that's something that people just kind of throw around, and not knowing that some people actually don't know what it is.
Yes.
So when you hear write-off, it's the same thing as hearing expenses or deductions. They all kind of work together. They all are the same thing. It's just a write-off is on your taxes, an expense is actually in your bank account, and a deduction is really on your taxes too. So a write-off could be what you spend in your business. Just think about it as you have income. That's what you make. That's all the sales. That's all the money that's coming in, right? Income taxes. It's a tax that is based on your income. So in order to reduce that tax, or that your overall tax bill, you want to have a good amount of write-offs, which are deductions, right? To take away from your income, to ultimately make the amount that you owe on income taxes less. So throughout the year, if you're spending money on photos, advertising, marketing dollars, you hire help. Even your meals now are 100% deductible for this year. And you're tracking these expenses, and then when it comes tax time, you're writing them off as a deduction.
So just to summarize, just so I'm clear, we said that, so basically write-offs is basically a deduction of income on income, because you're taxed on the income that you make. So in order to get a write-off, you have to spend money. That's basically what that means.
You got to spend money. So if you are just making money and you have no expenses,
you won't pay more in tax. Got you. Okay, and so it really boils down to: do you want to spend the money for your business and to further your business, or do you want to give it to Uncle Sam? That's the best way to explain a write-off, right?
There are some ways around it. That's not the end-all, be-all. You can put your money in investments to where it's not technically income; it's an asset, and it's in an investment. You can do a non-tax deferred or tax-deferred investment. That's really the secret to moving money and not getting taxed on it. But we can talk about that later, but I just want you guys to know that that's not the only way to avoid taxes. Got
you. But the ultimate thing is we got to be making money. We got to have income in order to get write-offs, or to get a write-off.
Well, not essentially. You have start-off businesses who are basically putting out more money than is coming in. I've seen that a lot, and basically they're taking a loss. They had like $100, just figuratively, $100 in sales, but they spent $1,000. They have a loss of $900. So there's no.
Got it. Okay. Okay.
So it's possible.
Okay, well then never mind. Scratch what I said, y'all. I am not a CPA. I am not a tax professional. And just as a side note, everybody, if y'all saw, my daughter was trying to come into the screen and talk while she was breaking down tax write-offs, so I had to tell her to be quiet, because this was some important stuff. But
well, my dog is right here. He was fine until I started talking. So.
That's how it go. That's how it go. But we pivot. We don't panic. So if my daughter pops in and says hello, just say hi back, y'all. Anyway, so with that being said, with you helping out entrepreneurs and putting people in a better situation, or basically educating people on taxes, obviously you pride yourself on providing a world-class service, not just education, right? Mm-hmm. Because that's one of the things that we talked about when we spoke offline. So one of the things I want to ask then is, when it comes to entrepreneurs, there's been this big question. I have four of them. There's been a big question of, can we get write-offs as entrepreneurs with our children? If you could please go ahead and break that down for all inquiring minds.
Okay, so the short answer is yes.
Okay.
But when I first started in accounting, my mentor told me your favorite phrase is going to be, it depends. So I'm going to just say, it depends. But the short answer is yes. So there are some caveats to it. There are some rules to it.
Got it.
So I'll go down the list of a few of those rules.
Okay, go ahead. This is gonna be good, y'all. Get ready, get your pens and papers out. This is the time where you get your pens and papers out, because we're gonna break it down for you so you don't try to write off nothing and you mess up, because you don't want to mess up. Go ahead.
So the first thing is, your kid has to be at least 2 years old. In some cases younger, if they're like a baby model or something like that. Mm-hmm. But generally they have to be able to perform the duties that you say that they do. So if they're sweeping up the floor, if they're, washing cars or cleaning windows, whatever it is, mm-hmm. that age has to be justifiable with the job.
Got it.
I do have a client where her baby, she makes clothes. And she makes clothes for her baby, and her baby is her model. So, hey.
There you go.
It is justifiable. But that is typically the rule. If they're a 2-year-old and you have them taking pictures, I mean, it's kind of questionable, okay? Mm-hmm, so just make sure that whatever job that you are listing that they do is, makes sense, okay?
Right. So basically, you can't have them say they the CFO and they can't do math yet, something like that. Yeah, that's crazy. Yeah.
And the second thing is that there is an income cap. So you can't pay them more than $12,000. I think this year is actually $12,500, but we'll just stick with the average of, $12,000. You cannot pay them more than that. Okay. You don't have to pay them regularly, like on a regular schedule or anything like that. My son, for instance, last year, I actually hired him. He's 11 and he was my photographer last summer. And so we negotiated a deal to where he would take my pictures every weekend and I would pay him, X amount of dollars per picture. Well, before I actually... before the light bulb clicked off, I was like, wait, I'm paying you a couple $100 every month.
Right.
So then I started to say, okay, well, let me just organize this or whatever. So then at the end of the year, I have this sheet I put him as a contractor on my books. Mm-hmm. So he has his own category of what I pay him. So at the end of the year, I know how much I pay him. Well, for me as a business owner, contract labor is a right.
I'll just say, okay, we can utilize it with infinite banking, and now we can pay for college. We could pay for another business for our children. We could also pay for a car, whatever the case may be. But now you have the flexibility compared to a 529 plan. It has to go directly to a university. It can't go to anything else. With a Roth IRA, you have the risk of losing your money in the market.
Contract labor is a write-off. A deduction. It's an expense that I had to pay to operate my business. So at tax time, he's lumped in, whatever amount I paid him is lumped into any amount that I pay any other contractor throughout the year. So it's a write-off for me, but then for him, it's non-taxed because he's a kid. He doesn't get a W-2. He doesn't have to file taxes. He's a kid. So that is the big hack, is that not only am I getting that benefit, but he gets the benefit of, you know, making money, having money in his savings or whatever. And we'll talk about that because I learned another hack is that don't put it in your savings. I know y'all pretty much know about that.
Mm-hmm.
But he has this money that is not taxable, and I can do this up until he's 18. Or
now, quick question behind that. So when you say not taxable, I just want to make sure this is clear for everybody listening.
Mm-hmm.
That means no Social Security and none of that other type of tax either?
No.
So no nothing at all?
No.
Okay.
Well, even with contractors, period, me as the owner, I'm not taking Social Security. I'm not taking those taxes as a contractor.
Oh, good point. Yes.
Not
yes,
an employee, he's a contractor. Yes.
Good point.
Employees is different. He can't be an employee.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Too young to be an employee. He has to be a contractor. So no taxes for me, no taxes for him, and it's a write-off for me.
Wow. So a write-off for your business and a write-off for your child. Goodness gracious. Well, it's just tax-free. It's tax-free for the child.
Mm-hmm. You can do this for each child.
Wow. Okay. Now, you mentioned something about savings, and then you say you could do it up to 18 before I jumped in. Did you want to finish that thought when you say you could do it up to 18, however?
So another, I guess, hack, instead of it just, so with my son, we started him a Cash App account, right?
Mm-hmm.
He has a bank account, but we started him a Cash App because it's a little bit more accessible. Anybody can just send him money for his birthday. We got him a little card. It's in my name, but it's a little card that he can use or whatever. So that's how I started paying him, because it was easier.
Mm-hmm.
Well, of course he wants to spend some of the money, but say for instance, I wanted to start, a fund for him. Well, you can start a Roth IRA for a kid. And that Roth IRA means that that money is growing as they get older, right? And you're able to give it to them when they turn 18 or when they go to college. They can use it for whatever they want to. If you want to do the college fund route, you can definitely do that. But it's not just sitting in the bank,
Correct.
not,
Correct.
collecting anything. Or you can start maybe a stockpile account or some kind of, other investment account to where it's building an asset for them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So that is one thing I always tell my clients, just to take it a step further.
Yes.
We talk about tax planning and, planning for the future, just to take it a step further instead of just paying them all this money now. And a lot of times people don't think that they can afford to pay their kid. But
right.
Think about, I'm putting lunch money on my kid's books for his little lunch book for snacks and all this type of stuff. And then he asking for Roblox all the time. And I'm like, no, all that stuff is the money that I could be paying you for you to be doing something with my company.
Right. It's just a matter of, to your point, being creative and thinking about what do you already pay for and how can you reallocate that through in a relationship for your child working with your company. I'm with it. Now, with that being mentioned, because you already answered the other question I was going to ask about, what about parents who think they can't afford to pay their kids? So that was right on. Is there anything else?
It doesn't have to be a lot. Like, it really doesn't have to be a lot. I think I was paying him, at first it was like $2 per picture, per outfit that I was doing. And I would do maybe 3 outfits. And he started doing little videos and trying to edit stuff. So I was like, okay, I'll give you $5 a picture. So that was the thing. And we would do that maybe 3 weeks out of the month. And so he was racking it up.
Right. So
yeah.
how do people find out the right prices to pay their children? How would they discover that?
That's really up to you. Just know that there's a $12,000 income cap. And so 12 months in a year, $1,000 a month
is your cap.
That's a guide. If you want to do it that way and then divide that by 4 weeks, and you can do it that way. If you want to stick to that, that's totally fine. I have a client that pays her daughter like $250 a month.
Okay. Now, one of the things that you said, I want to make sure that I reiterate so that people could be aware of that, is you talked about, so you already or you brought up the income cap again, but one of the things you mentioned was you organize the paperwork so that your child is on your books and you're not just randomly paying them. It's actually organized paperwork where you can pull it up at the end of the year and show it, or at tax time, and show it to the person who's doing taxes. How important is that?
Oh my gosh, so important. So a lot of people, and this is where my passion is too, because I was that entrepreneur. Even though I had the knowledge, I went to school for accounting, I knew how to do certain things, but I didn't know everything, right?
Right.
But when it came to running my business, I got so engulfed in what's the next thing, making money, paying my bills, keeping my studio open, marketing, advertising. So a lot of that stuff kind of fell in the back burner. I'm like, oh, I know the money's coming in.
Right. We all been guilty of it. I've been there too.
For sure.
Yeah.
I'm so passionate about it because I know I was that person, and I had the knowledge. So I'm like, if I had the knowledge and I didn't do it, imagine people who don't even have that knowledge. I can't really expect for them to just, hey, sit down every month and I'm gonna do my books. Like, let's be realistic. You're not.
Yeah.
So keeping your books in order is so important because, for one, nobody wants to be audited and not ready.
Yeah.
Like, it's really like getting caught with your pants down. When the IRS knocks, you have to answer. Like, what are you gonna do? Like,
right.
You have to give them what they are requesting. So keeping your books really basically means, in the simplest form of keeping your books, is tracking your income and tracking your expenses. That's the simplest way you can do it. And there's so many apps that you can do now, where now on the basic side, you can link your card and it's tracking everything you spend and everything you make. You still need some kind of knowledge to say, okay, well, this is gas, this is, this was a business meal, this is travel, Breaking it down into those categories is what saves you during tax time, because certain deductions account for a larger decrease in your tax bill than others. For instance, like I mentioned earlier, business meals are 100% deductible now.
Yeah, you did mention that.
As of maybe a few weeks ago. They've really never been 100% deductible. Now they are. It's usually about 80. Certain industries are 100% deductible, but usually about 80 or 50%. Now for 2020, when you track and you go and you buying lunch for your staff and pizza party and you go into a lunch meeting, it's 100% deductible. But if you are not keeping track of what you're spending, where you're spending it, because it's a new deduction, the IRS's radars are going to be up. So you can't just be saying, I spent $10,000 on business meals and not expect for the IRS to say, hey, hold on, wait.
Where'd it come from?
Where'd it come from?
Yeah.
So you need to have, I don't typically require all my bookkeeping clients to keep every single receipt, but being that this is such a new deduction, they're going to have to keep receipts for those. So
got it.
Keep your receipt for your business meals. Who were you with? What did you talk about? Just so we can keep a record. The other biggest deduction is mileage. A lot of people are not tracking their mileage now. A lot of people are working from home, so they're probably not going
right.
a lot of places. But I have real estate agents that are driving around constantly, to showings and listings and stuff like that. There are apps to help you track your mileage. It's no excuse. So that is actually one of the biggest deductions that you can take. But if you are not tracking it on your books and you don't know how much you've been spending or how much you've been driving, then you're losing out on that deduction.
Got you.
So keeping your books in order is going to save you so much trouble, especially when you start to hire people. You cannot hire people, no matter if it's an employee or a contractor, if you are not organized. Like, it's like asking them to come into a mess. You know, you don't want that. So before you start to think about adding people to your mess, clean it up first.
Yeah. Now you said something, and it's worth asking. I'm just curious. You said food is 100% deductible, especially when you're having it with employees. So does that count with contractors?
Yes, contractors, any vendors, customers, clients.
Okay.
I mean, I hired my son. He's a contractor.
That's where we're going with this. Okay.
Oh, eat,
Okay. This is, I hope y'all are picking up what she's putting down, because she's giving you some game right now. Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Now, with that being said, here's the other side of that. Then, this is pretty important too. You just blew my mind with that one. When the children have bank accounts, I did hear you say when you're paying your child, the bank account cannot be yours. They have to have their name on it.
Yes.
That's important, y'all. Make sure you do that.
I mean, certain institutions, a kid just can't be on there by themselves.
Right. So it's a joint.
Yeah,
right.
I have control over my son's account.
Correct.
He's not old enough.
Correct.
But it does have to be separate. It can't be I'm paying my kid
to your
my
personal
account.
account. Yeah. No. So I do want to say this, y'all. There's an app out there. I ain't getting paid for them, so maybe I need to holler at them about this. But it's called Greenlight. It's an app where it's for kids to have their own debit card, but it's for the parents to manage the money coming in. Now, with that being said, I just want to throw that out there just in case y'all want to look that up. And if there's any other apps, y'all can go ahead and tag them in the comments, and then we'll make sure we can use that to help everybody. But here's the other thing I want to bring up. So y'all don't know. So y'all see her name as Courtney, but she goes by the tax coach. So I'll be saying coach sometimes. So if y'all hear me say that, y'all know why. So one of the things that Coach mentioned is she said, put the money in a Roth IRA. Now, here's one thing. Here's probably the part that I would come into play with, because we've been helping out a lot of families with this. And so people have been looking at Roth IRAs and also looking at 529 plans. But what we've done instead is we said, okay, what if we could show people how to save into a program where obviously it's tax-free on the front end, because it's coming from the child, but then we could also show them how to put it into an account where they have insurance against stock market loss. They have it doesn't matter if they have income limits, so they could save $1,000 a month into it, up to $1,000 a month into it, and it doesn't have to be restricted to a university, and it doesn't have to be restricted to anything else. This is where we're talking about infinite banks, you guys, because what's happened is now we're showing people how they could take those $1,000, put it towards these accounts. And similar to the Roth, where it's tax-free on the back end when you pull it out, but the difference is there's no age requirement, so you don't have to wait till 59 and a half. The other thing is you don't have to lose your money in the stock market when you're getting ready to pull those funds out. So if you pay attention to what Coach was saying, that means now, because before it was after-tax dollars. So if you're paying your child and you want to save for your child's future, that means you can save up to $1,000 a month tax-free. So she just told you guys how to set it up to where your children can benefit. But then now you could take that knowledge and say, okay, we can utilize it with infinite banking, and now we can pay for college. We could pay for another business for our children. We could also pay for a car, whatever the case may be. But now you have the flexibility compared to a 529 plan. It has to go directly to a university. It can't go to anything else. With a Roth IRA, you have the risk of losing your money in the market, right? I'm not saying those are bad. I'm just giving comparison. A lot of families with this, and so people have been looking at Roth IRAs and also looking at 529 plans. But what we've done instead is we said, okay, what if we could show people how to save into a program where obviously it's tax-free on the front end, because it's coming from the child, but then we could also show them how to put it into an account where they have insurance against stock market loss. They have it doesn't matter if they have income limits, so they can save $1,000 a month into it, up to $1,000 a month into it, and it doesn't have to be restricted to a university, and it doesn't have to be restricted to anything else. This is where we're talking about infinite banks, you guys, because what's happened is now we're showing people how they could take those $1,000, put it towards these accounts. And similar to the Roth where it's tax-free on the back end when you pull it out, but the difference is there's no age requirement, so you don't have to wait till 59 and a half. The other thing is you don't have to lose your money in the stock market when you're getting ready to pull those funds out. So if you pay attention to what Coach was saying, that means now, because before it was after tax dollars. So if you're paying your child and you want to save for your child's future, that means you can save up to $1,000 a month, tax-free on the front end, put it into this account. Now remember, it's going to be pulling automatically from a joint bank account with you and your baby on it. And it's going to be pulling from this bank account every month. And then now what happens is when your baby wants to get their first car, you could borrow against this account. So let's say you save up 50 grand, the car costs 20, you could finance it, pull the 20 out, but you still have 50 grand account compounding interest at 8 to 12% annually. That's how something like this can work. So she just told you guys how to set it up to where your children can benefit. But then now you could take that knowledge and say, okay, we can utilize it with infinite banking, and now we can pay for college, we can pay for another business for our children, we could also pay for a car, whatever the case may be. But now you have the flexibility compared to a 529 plan. It has to go directly to a university. It can't go to anything else. With a Roth IRA, you have the risk of losing your money in the market, right? I'm not saying those are bad, I'm just giving comparisons, right? So, but with that being mentioned though, Coach, would you say that something like infinite banking would be a good idea behind this?
I think so. It adds that extra layer of protection and a little bit of security, knowing that that money is there and it's growing.
Yep.
I think that's the thing I'm all about. Like, I don't want to keep my money nowhere where it's not going to help me in the long run. I could put it in the shoebox if it's just going to sit there.
That's true.
That's the thing with these banks, and I just,
Absolutely.
So I'm definitely all about putting it somewhere where it's going to grow, where, when it's time for college, when it's time for big purchases and stuff like that, I know that I can go to this and, it's there. So yes, definitely.
You got it. Well, you guys, this interview was a little bit shorter because Coach is busy. She got all kind of clients lined up, all kind of people to meet. But before we go, if somebody wants to find you, Coach, how can they find you? Tell us where to find you at.
For sure. So my Instagram is Tax Coach Courtney. Just how it sounds, Tax Coach Courtney. You can visit my website, mcoretax.com, and you can find all of my digital courses that I've already had, anything that is coming up. I do have an event, it's actually a live event.
Okay.
My first live event in 2 years. It's coming up May the 21st. There's a virtual component too, so you can do a virtual ticket. I'm super excited about that because I have 2 other amazing colleagues of mine. One specializes in credit and another specializes in money management and bookkeeping. So we're teamed up to give you the ultimate business finance workshop. That's May the 21st. Just make sure you follow me so you can, make sure you get your ticket and you just, see everything that we have coming up. I'm super excited. I know I just quit my job, so I got a whole bunch of time on my hands.
There you go.
I'm rolling them out now.
All right. And so real quick, Coach, I have a question for you. Being that we talked about how entrepreneurs can get write-offs for their children, do you have any documentation specifically just for that where people can look that up with you?
Yeah. So if you go to my website, there's a little PDF document that you can grab, just a little guide for you with everything that I mentioned, the income cap, the age limit, and all that type of thing. So you can go to my website, mcoretax.com, mcoretax.com. Also, for our listeners, I want to offer you guys a special discount code for my event that's coming up. It's called the Owners League Business Finance Workshop. So if you go to my site, you'll be able to see that as well and enter the code BANK50 for $50 off, BANK50 for $50 off at checkout, and that'll be just for you guys.
All right, I appreciate that, and I'm sure other folks will too, because when you come across somebody that is knowledgeable as yourself, it's important to tap in with them to see what else you can get so that you could. Here's the other thing, you guys, it's not just the knowledge that she's providing. This is immediate knowledge that you could apply today. Like, this isn't some concept that you got to wait on 50 years from now. You could apply her information today. So I think this is awesome. Again, Coach Courtney, I want to say I appreciate you for your time. I appreciate the professionalism that you brought to the table, the information you brought to the table. Can't wait for everybody to start implementing these strategies. I appreciate you. You have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much.
All right. There you have it, folks. Until next time. Oh, and if you want information on the Infinite Bank, after this, just go ahead and text the number 510-327-8698. Text bank to the number 510-327-8698. Thanks a lot, everybody.